Well, it was the day that changed America. I mean, you're talking about the 9/11 terrorist attacks. 20 years ago this Saturday, the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, all crash sites at the four planes were hijacked and nearly 3,000 lives were lost. 20 years, yeah, it's a long time, but for some like Dr. Matthew Fogg, a former Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal, the sounds, the smells, and sights are still fresh. Dr. Fogg joins us to share his perspective and the grueling task he had that day at Ground Zero. Good morning, Dr. Fogg. And let's talk about that because you're right. I mean, 20 years ago, I remember that moment like it was yesterday, living in the area and, like I just mentioned, being able to see and smell the smoke that day and for days on after that. It will always have an impact on me. What is the one thing, that the main thing that you'll always remember about that day and the days following?
I think the biggest thing was the uncertainty of where we were when the planes was hitting the building. The whole country was, basically shut down. So it was like we were under attack. I couldn't get a phone. I got one phone call from a friend of mine who was actually on Capitol Hill and was telling me everybody was rushing out of the Capitol and that there was a plane headed for the Pentagon. It was just, it was surreal in the sense that, you're trying to figure out exactly what are you going to live? Are you going to be around anymore? I mean, that's just was the bottom line because there was so much chaos and at that moment when that second plane hit that building, I mean, when I saw the first one hit it, we thought it was an accident or something like that. When that second plane hit it, we
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh no, this is an attack." At that point, it's like, okay, where do you go? What do you do? How do you get involved? And then when them buildings dropped, man, that was the real, when you
Yeah,
say catastrophic, it was something to see that. I just couldn't believe it. I knew that I had to get down there and get and help out.
yeah. I mean, that I brought this up before, and I think that's the main thing that really I take away from this whole thing that I remember well. I remember when it happened, like you mentioned, thinking it was an accident at first, and then seeing the second plane hit,
Right.
and I was like, okay, we're under attack. And being from a military background, I knew what was at stake and what was going on. But when I saw those towers actually fall to the ground,
Oh
and the
man. Hmm.
emotions and reactions afterwards, it took something out of me that I don't think I'll ever get back.
Right. No, when I saw him, I mean, literally, I didn't actually see the physical dropping. I saw that on television. Then when I ran back outside, well, one building had dropped, the other one hadn't. And then we went back inside, and then the second building dropped, and you could just see the smoke. And from 40 blocks away, it was like you're right there, to be honest with you. That's how tall those buildings are. So at that point, in the fire station where I was located, the hotel where I was staying, the fire station right in that same block, they lost the most firefighters. I think it was 15 firefighters. So they were the closest
Yeah.
in. So pretty much, I just went, man, I went across the street. I didn't have nothing because I was on leave. I went across the street
Mm.
and bought an army surplus store, bought black fatigue suit pants. Man, I spent money and went there, flashlights and everything, and then I just walked down, man, and started walking. Everybody was screaming and hollering, coming the other way, and I was going in there. And the bottom line was,
Yeah.
it just seemed like it was just so much fire and brimstone and destruction. You almost didn't know where to start. You really didn't.
Yeah.
You
I mean, but
you had no bearing.
yeah, we had never
I'm
seen
sorry. Go ahead.
anything like that before. I mean, look at that. Look at that devastation. That's a war
Absolutely.
zone right there. I mean, look. I'm gonna show this. There's a photo that featured in People magazine. You leading a team of search and rescue workers through the rubble to recover the body of a fallen firefighter. I mean, that
That's
had to
right.
have a mental effect on your life. One of your own colleagues. What do you remember about that moment?
Well, it was just, there were two incidents. One, we recovered guy that was the firefighter that lost his life. And then another incident, one was found alive and we were able to rescue him. So everybody was clapping and happy. But that one there, that incident where the guy was deceased, it was rough. I mean, everybody, you could just see the looks on everybody's faces as they finally got his body out and put him in the bag and was trying to get him off the hill. And we were trying to clear the debris away. And there was just so many people around, rescue workers, really. It was just everybody was somber because you were in a daze. You were sort of like I said, I use the word surreal, sort of like a dream. you're like, is this really happening? How many people are really still under this rubble? How many people are we going to find? So it was a
Mm-hmm.
constant thing, a daily thing of just uncertainty. But that left, yeah, I was a firefighter. It was just like a first responder, emergency person, just like I was, and all the rest of us. But the people that were in law enforcement had backgrounds. You just felt it. You said this is
Yep.
what we're trained for, but when it happens, it's different.
Yeah, it's like losing a family member there. I mean, like I said, the emotional toll of finding somebody alive is the glee, the happiness. That's what you're doing it for, and then finding recovering bodies, and then when it turned into a not just a search and rescue mission, but a recovery mission, that was an entirely different mental aspect. Let's talk about the black firefighters who were there. 12 black firefighters died on 9/11, and what I want to remember here is that there are many more black firefighters, police officers, search and rescue people who are actually down there. But what I do remember 20 years ago, and I understand there were a lot of people down there of all colors, nationalities, and backgrounds who were down there, but I don't remember seeing a lot of black people actually front and center when it came to the photo ops. I remember
Right,
President Bush. I remember Mayor Giuliani went on SNL, and I didn't
right.
see one person of color or a woman actually on SNL with them at that time. I think we need to give them a little bit more love because of what they were doing, because what you guys did was heroic, because you didn't know the dangers of those buildings still being able to collapse, and the fact that we could be under attack again at any moment.
That's so true. You felt like, I knew we were there, and of course, when I looked around, I noticed there were black first responders. Like you said, there were a lot there, but a lot of people there, but there were black first responders, and we kind of stood out somewhat. But the reality of it was, we paid a price. We went in, and matter of fact, some died, and then some of us went in and helped others, and whatever we had to do. But the bottom line is, we played a pivotal role in that
Mm-hmm.
process. And so you would think that when it came time to profiling people and showing who they were and how they were involved, we would have been out there. I didn't see a lot of, when the ceremonies was really taking place up there in New York and a lot of stuff. I didn't see too many black faces. I mean, that's just reality as
Mm-hmm.
far as
Mm-hmm.
being involved in the ceremonial process. But we were there. I mean, we were there. The guy right
Yeah, you were
behind
there.
me in that picture right there, there's a guy, he's a black firefighter right there. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember him, I
And
think
you,
number 123. So we
yeah,
were there, man.
and you
We were
deserve
in the process.
and you deserve your
Huh?
accolades, and you deserve your mentions because of your heroics there. Before we let you go, I got about a minute here. We always say never forget, but what do you want people to always remember about 9/11 and the days immediately after?
Right. I guess the fragility of life, man. Just like right now, we're in a
Mm.
pandemic season, and you never know when you might. I always tell. I did a speech at NASA for this. NASA honored me, and I did a speech, and called it "Above and Beyond the Call of Duty." Be always willing to
Mm-hmm.
step out and be prepared to help someone else that's in need. And because I didn't have to go down there. I was on leave, but I did.
Yep.
And the bottom line is, and a lot of those volunteers went in there, and a lot of those people sucked in that air and everything, that poisonous
Mm-hmm.
air and everything else, and they check us every year. But just be willing to go above and beyond the call of duty on humanity of life. Help others out when that call comes.
Amen. Amen. And once again, I think that was the last time that this country actually felt united. To be honest with you, the days immediately
Yes.
following that. Hopefully, we can get that back without having some kind of tragedy strike us yet again. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you did down there and helping out. And thank you for what you continue to do to bring light to this topic. Dr. Matthew Fogg, thanks for sharing your memories with us. And we appreciate you starting your day with us as always. Good seeing you.